killed Basim, one of the most active members of the community, was standing at the very front of the demonstration with his arms in the air, shouting at Israeli soldiers, "Stop shooting because I think you've injured an Israeli activist." And they killed him there and then. Because this thing that is happening in Belayim, this is the thing that the Israeli government One more person I want to tell you about from Belayim is a guy called Ron. Now, if you can imagine, the first time I went to this small Palestinian village to take part in the weekly demonstration, and I saw a guy at the front of the crowd in a wheelchair, just like myself, I could not believe my eyes. We became very close, very close. I mean, for 6 months, he was offering to find me a Palestinian wife. And I asked him if he felt that the Israelis treated him any differently because of the fact that he's in a wheelchair. And he said, "Jody, I want to tell you 2 things. First, that the Israeli government do not care if you're walking or in a wheelchair or a man, woman or child. And that's certainly rung true with what I had experienced during my time there. I remember during one of the night raids, an Israeli soldier rolling a sound grenade directly under my wheelchair so that it would explode up into my face. And I remember during one of the Friday demonstrations, sitting at the front on my own in my wheelchair after most of the crowd had been forced back. That's in your mind. Now, just before I left the village, Ronnie's wife gave birth to triplets, so he's a very strong guy in more ways than one. That's enough for the photos, thank you. I'm not finished. After 6 months in Belayim, I traveled to Gaza. So I made my way to Cairo in Egypt, where over 1,000 foreigners were trying to do the same thing. In the end, I was the only one that succeeded. The Arabic that I picked up in Belayim now proved to be very helpful. So when I got to each of the 5 checkpoints that the Egyptian government had set up to prevent people from traveling to Gaza, I said, no, I'm an Egyptian citizen. I've forgotten my ID at home, but don't worry, my father. And some hours later, I was on my way to Gaza. Now, I ended up crossing the border with an aid organisation that had driven all the way from London. But once we crossed into the Gaza Strip, I realised that the Egyptian government were going to force everyone from this organisation to leave after just 24 hours. So, after sleeping with this organisation for the first night in the hotel they were staying in, I woke up early, walked downstairs and walked out the front entrance, and the security there in English, "Hey, you can't go off on your own, do you want to come and have some breakfast?" And I replied in Arabic, "Excuse me, I'm not with this organisation. Actually, my name's Ahmad Ali, I'm from Jabari camp." And they said, "Okay, have a nice day." So I ended up living in Gaza for 2 months, and all I can say about Gaza is that the situation now really is no better than the situation 18 months ago after the massacre that Israel committed there. On my second night in Gaza, I woke up at around 2 o'clock in the morning to loud sounds outside my bedroom window, and were bombing Gaza City, and 3 people died that night, including a 14-year-old boy. But of course we don't hear about that here, because these are the victims that do not matter. The people of Gaza continue to suffer from the effects of the siege every day. Farmers are shot at as they attempt to farm their land. Fishermen are shot at as they attempt to fish in Gazan waters, and tunnelers are bombed as they attempt to bring in food and everyday goods to a besieged population. But despite these feelings of desperation and immense depression amongst the people there, one inspirational thing I saw was that the non-violent resistance that I'd experienced in Belayim and other villages in the West Bank was now spreading even to Gaza. So communities in Beit Hanun in the north of the Gaza Strip have begun weekly marches into Israel's so-called buffer zone, which is basically a 300-meter strip of land next to the border, which the Israeli army has declared as a no-go area for Palestinians, despite the fact that farmers have land to farm there and families have homes to live in there. So men and women were marching into this buffer zone every week to chant and non-violently protest against this policy of the occupation. But the only difference I saw between Belayim and Gaza was that whereas in Belayim lives on the line every week, these marches continue. So I think we need to take our inspiration in our actions here from the strength of those people. Now, one more thing I want to mention is that during my 9 months in Palestine, regular reports for an online magazine from the UK called Control Alt Shift, which was funded by an organisation called Christian Aid. Now, while I was in Gaza, I saw a news item saying that the Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres was in the German Parliament instructing German politicians to hunt down all remaining Nazi war criminals. Now, in the article I wrote in response to this, I quite simply stated that if it was war criminals Mr. Perez was looking for, then the first one he could find would be to look in the mirror. As you can imagine, some people weren't terribly